You are there, but you're just muted.
Hi, Chair. Yes, I am available.
Great
Good
stuff.
morning to.
Morning, Bongani. Thank you so much. Okay, so then let me dive in with some, where am I? Here we go. With some background as to, I guess, very briefly, the support program and then what this info session is about. So yeah, this is part of the Municipal Embedded Generation Support Program. And I think as everyone in the room knows, we do these information sessions from time to time whenever something, regulations change or there's an area of interest that's sparking a lot of discussion on the WhatsApp groups or something, yeah, just a useful message to get out. We do these informal ad hoc information sessions to try and share learnings between municipal officials and others. So yeah, that's what today is about. Today we're going to be speaking about municipal billing solutions for wheeling and embedded generation. The billing systems have been a real challenge for several municipalities. So yeah, many municipalities have reiterated the challenges of updating their billing system for embedded generation feed-in tariffs. And now with wheeling on the horizon and increased interest, it's also even more complex for the billing system. So really is a priority to get these billing systems sorted. So I see people are still joining. Welcome, and thanks for joining us for this information session this morning. And Mark, I guess you're just operating the lobby, so thanks for doing that. Yeah, good morning. And there are some unmuted, but that's if you can just mute yourself, or if someone can just mute them, that'll be great. So we've given ourselves 90 minutes this morning, and the agenda for the morning for the 90 minutes is I'm going to just start with a brief intro and overview of billing system challenges and show where we want to get to. And then we got a case study that's really the focus of the morning is George Municipality and Open Access Energy. So we've got Bongani Mandla here from George, Head of Electricity, and I believe he's also pulled in some of his billing and metering team, Derek and Adam. So thanks so much to you guys for being here. And then we've got Jario from Open Access Energy, who are a private company who've developed a free licensed software, so freely available for municipalities to use to support providing customers with their billing information. So it communicates with your smart meters and provides the information to their customers. And then, yeah, Gerard is going to talk us a bit through about what that can do. And then I think the idea is to have a discussion. So we really encourage questions and chats, and please make notes as the presenters are speaking around how this is useful for you and ultimately how we can accelerate updating of the billing systems. So that's what we want to get to, is real actions of how we can do this, because it is a priority. So I'm going to start with this priority, why it needs to be done. Yeah, so good morning to those joining. So I think it really has become clear in these energy action plans, the National Crisis Committee working on ending load shedding. I'm sure everyone's been aware of this. It was mentioned. It was almost the whole focus of the State of the Nation address was on the electricity space last week from the president, and kept on reiterating the actions to take to end load shedding. And in this action plan, I'm sure you would have heard there was mention of these 5 key areas. And one of the key areas is to unleash businesses and households to invest in rooftop solar. So it's one of the top 5 things that the government has sort of prioritized to end load shedding. One of those is supporting businesses and households to invest in rooftop solar. And, you know, if for those who've been in this SSEG support program for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, I mean, longer, I think that it would be even clearer. But even just in the last 3 or 4 years, from being sort of very small kind of fringe thing where we need to develop SSEG policies, and yes, we need to do this because customers are installing, to all of a sudden now it's just boomed. It's like the president's entire State of the Nation address is like around this. It's mentioned everywhere. So I think what's really exciting is municipalities are sort of front and center in ending load shedding. And this is the major action that municipalities can do, because we run the distribution grids, and all embedded generation connects to the distribution grid by definition. So this is the major sort of reason why we have seen this increased interest to update billing systems. And I think, as Mark mentioned to the WhatsApp group last week, one of these priority actions is to develop net billing frameworks and implement net billing. And as Mark said, we expect communication from the presidency and the crisis committee to municipalities around these three key actions. And the first is to develop embedded generation policies and processes. So you need this sort of regulatory framework in place in the municipalities. The second is really to fast track connections to the grid. So there's these proposed timelines. So really fast tracking to 2-week turnaround time for small systems and a month for larger systems, which is a lot quicker than what's happening in municipalities. So a real sort of urge to municipalities to prioritize this workspace. And then the third is this, what we're speaking about today, compensating customers for feeding into the grid. So obviously, compensating customers for feeding into the grid creates a better business case for customers to install larger systems. So at the moment, in a place where you don't necessarily receive an export credit or feed-in tariff, you would only design the system, your rooftop solar system, to meet your building's electricity demand. You wouldn't necessarily oversize it, because if you oversize it, it means it's going to export into the municipal grid. And if you're not getting paid anything for that, then what's the point of doing that? So the thinking is that if we develop a really sort of attractive export tariff, it will create a market for bigger solar sizes, and it will incentivize customers to register with the municipality, because if they register, then they gain access to that export tariff. And so it really sort of can bring the whole market into, I guess, legalness, for lack of a better word. So that is really the priority around billing systems, is if we want to implement export tariffs, then we need billing systems that can implement export tariffs, and of course the metering around that. So that's what we're here to speak about. And we know a lot of municipalities have struggled with these billing systems. So I'm going to show an example of the end state where we want to get to. So this is an aerial photograph of our office block. We, Sustainable Energy Africa, we don't own the building. We rent office space from the building owners, but for just purely because we want to sort of, practice what we preach. We encourage the building owners to install this. So anyway, this is our office building, and it's registered with the City of Cape Town. We are in the City of Cape Town. And that's a 14 kilowatt solar system. So we've got on the top left here is an older 4 kilowatt system. And then on the right hand side here is a newer 10 kilowatt system. So together it's a 14 kilowatt system on the roof. And it's just a few, 3 or 4 different companies that rent office space here. So it's got a typical office commercial load profile. So increased electricity demand during the day as everyone arrives 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. We switch on kettles, we start laptops, lights, fans, heaters, whatever the time of year. And then at night we switch it off. So the building does self-consume a lot of the electricity we generate, but we also export a lot because it's a very, very efficient building. And on weekends, obviously no one's here. Throughout the Christmas holidays, the building is closed and the system just exports into the City of Cape Town's grid. And for that export, we get compensated because we know City of Cape Town has got a functioning SSEG export tariff in place. So thank you to the kind building owners. And I must say, Mark is one of the building owners. It's owned by sort of a group, and Mark is one of them. So Mark lets us have a look at the bill, and very sort of involved in the whole process, but I want to show you the actual PDF bill that we get from the city. Well, I say we get, I wish I owned the building, but that the building owners get from the city. So if you don't mind, well, I know we've gotten permission from them before. So here's the bill from the city of Cape Town. And like I say, I think it's useful to look at the end state, so where we want to get to, and then we can see what do our billing systems need to do. So here is the electricity section of the bill. So I hope everyone can see the PDF. I'm sure you can, otherwise you would have said something. So so here's electricity for those 28 days, from what's that, 9th of May to 6th of June, 5th of June, 2020. So this is quite an old bill. But in those 30 days, we consumed 1,251 kilowatt hours. And back then, the price was R1.50 per kilowatt hour. Like in 2020, I'm sure it's gone up significantly since then. You see here, this is generation offset. So this is for feeding into the grid. So we fed 418 kilowatt hours back into the grid. And the export credit at that time was 73 cents per kilowatt hour. Now it's gone up to over R1, so it's R1.05. So the export tariff is much more generous now in Cape Town, but I think for the billing system, it's the same principle. So there's the generation offset. And if I scroll to the right-hand side, you can see for the consumption, it's positive, but for the export, the bill is negative. So it reduces the bill because we fed into the grid. So that's the whole principle of net billing, is you pay for your consumption. Sorry, I'm zooming around here a lot. You pay for your consumption, that's that bit, and then you get credited for feeding into the grid, that's that bit, so it's negative. So bear in mind, this is in the month of May and June, so it's a winter month. So in winter, all the staff like to use heaters, so our electricity demand is much higher and the solar system generates much less. So that's why it's only sort of 308 Rand credit compared to purchasing 1,900 Rand. But in summer, it's much closer together. So we consume less and we generate more. So the bill on the energy component of the bill can almost zero out. But then in addition to the energy consumption, there's also a basic charge of 53 Rand per day. So it was 28 days multiplied by 53 Rand, and that's the basic charge, 1,500 Rand per month. And then there you can see the overall electricity bill. So it's that, and this is obviously a minus, so it reduces the bill, and that's the total of 3,100 Rand there. So this is a very simple example of implementing export credits. And obviously to do this, we need bidirectional metering, and you need the billing system needs to be able to put this negative on the bill. So many billing systems actually can't read negatives. They've never been done to do, never needed to do that. So they can only have zeros there, but they can't have less than zero. So this is for SSEG. Now, I don't know, the sort of people's familiarity with wheeling varies, but in principle, all we need to do with wheeling is if there's a generator, you also need to measure the kilowatt hours fed into the grid. And now, instead of providing the credit, this credit to this customer is saying, no, I want to pass the electricity and the credit to another customer. So then you take this 308 or this part of the bill, the 418 kilowatt hours, and you pass the credit onto a different customer's bill according to whoever the generator has nominated. So they say, I want to wheel to that customer. You do all your agreements, and that's not what we're speaking about today. We're just speaking about the billing systems. Then the billing system needs to say, okay, I take the credit from that customer and I put it across onto the other bill. So it's very similar to this. The only difference is that you're taking the credit and putting it on another customer's bill, if that makes sense. And sure, there's tariff calculations and thing that we need to make sure that you're covering your use of system charge, etc. But all the billing system will do is, okay, thanks, I get these 418 kilowatt hours here, and I transfer it there. So when we speak about SSEG export metering and billing metering, it's actually very similar. Sure, there's also time of use that comes in, and sorry, let me just come back up here. When we have time of use, it becomes a little bit more complex. There's 3 readings instead of just the 1. But but I think the thinking and the framing of today's session is that we can start with SSEG exports and then we move on to wheeling. But yeah, so the open access, Gerrie and Bongani, their focus is around wheeling, but I think the principles are the same for SSEG exports. So I just wanted to show that first of all, that it's national priority. There really is urgency to get this done. And then here we have, we know Cape Town's been doing this for a while, so we have our bill, and that's all from me for now to just open the session. And then I think we want to hear from the experts and those with experience. So I thought we'll start with Bongani. I don't know, Bongani, if you're up for it, you and your team. I know Derek and Adam were going to join you. If you want to speak about how you've done metering, and how you have engaged with open access to try and simplify your billing systems. And then once Bongani and the team have spoken from the municipal side, then we'll hear from Gerrie at Open Access around what their software does. So Bongani, I don't know if you are able to unmute and share your screen, or how you're going to do it. Hi Bongani, please jump in.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you very much, Josh, for the opportunity. I think I'll stick to the brief of making it as simple as possible. So we only have one slide that will be sharing. I do have the team with me, so I'm going to try just to quickly share that slide. I've got with me Derek Baxter, who's our manager for measurements. So I think it will take us through the process of how they've managed to, to assist with the process with the help of open access, and then share with us, some of the challenges around the process before and where we are now. And I believe Gerrie will then explain the process with some aid of video. So I think in principle, from my side, Chair, one of the key issues that we've been battling with and trying to resolve is to making sure that we are able to send 100% accurate bills to our customers, and making sure that the work that is being done by the team, we reduce the human intervention that sometimes could have a slip up there and there, which results in either revenue loss or customers having to pay more than their actual use. So in the process, when we had the wheeling process, and having the fact that we have got one a trader who's got a connection with the generator, and having 4 customers that are linked to that trader that are being offsetters of this energy, we needed to ensure that there's a platform that will reduce the manual logging as well as manual capturing and allocation of that meters. And I think in that process, we then were engaged with the pilot. I think the Access Energy pilot, which then assisted us in terms of mainly automating this process. So I'm going to ask Derek just to share, how they got the data and how it reached the customer, just to take us through the slide. I'm hoping the slide is showing, and then actually also share where we are currently.
Fantastic, Bongani. Thank you. Hi, Derek.
Morning, Josh. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know where to start. I mean, you were in my office last week, and you can see that it's still yes. Where do we start? So the Access Energy program is about the same. Well, not exactly the same as the PMAX. We don't have to go through the PMAX because it's almost history now. But the latest program is more automated. So I wonder if it's not going to be better if you ask questions and we answer them.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
So I was with the George team last week to understand this, and so there's these 2 sort of rows here. The top one is PMAX, and then the bottom one is this Access Energy, which we're speaking about today. And I think there's some interesting differences there. So as I understand, the PMAX, you were saying, Derek, it gets information from the meter, and then it sends a bill. You check it and you send the bill to the customer. And then the difference with well, I don't know, maybe people on the call aren't familiar with PMAX, so maybe you can just explain on a high level, Derek, what is PMAX? And yeah.
Yep. PMAX is a billing program. It's written in South Africa for South Africans, 10 to 1. It's quite cheap. It's still, you know, I think our system is 30 years old, and it's still up and running.
Okay.
It retrieves data, the raw kilowatt and kilovar readings per half an hour, and with that it can do any calculation which is required by, you know, with all the other different tariffs, time of use or anything.
There we go. Okay, that makes sense. So so PMAX, your existing system, is a billing software. It reads meter data and creates bills. And then now the next step is then to work with Access Energy. So I think that's now where it differs quite a bit. And I think maybe some municipalities here on the call are familiar with existing standard sort of billing software, which is the top row here. So this PMAX, you operated by the municipality, send the bill to customer. Now this sort of newer software, what we're speaking about this morning, is this Access Energy and those sort of softwares, which is operated by the municipality and the trader. So as I understand it, and Derek, please explain here, it does the same thing as existing billing software. It gets information from the meters, so it gets your kVAR, as you said, kilowatt hour data from the meters, and it processes this on an online billing software. And you can also send bills to the customers, but each customer can also log into the software and view their data. Is that the key difference?
That's correct.
Okay.
So we can give access to the customers so they can, you know, they can follow through during the month, and then the link between our department and finance will be automated once the whole Access Energy is up and running.
Okay. That's very useful to see sort of what you did do and then what things are becoming now. And it's interesting to see that your customers can get sort of login details and log in. And then I suppose when it's wheeling, the trader will log in sort of and do the balancing. So say we've got all these kilowatt hours that came in and we want to give it to these different customers, and it allocates the kilowatt hours to the different customers, and then the municipality can offset that customer's bill according to what the trader said. So it's a much more, as the name implies, sort of open access for different people to log in. Of course, there's restrictions on each account, so the municipality can see everything, but the customer can only see their account information. So it really is opening things up and doing things quite differently. So I don't know, Bongani or Derek, if you want to add anything else about your experience with it so far, or any sort of thoughts for other municipalities, before we hand over to Gerard to take us through Access Energy in more detail.
So far, so good. I mean, there's little things that we still work on, but in let's say 4 months' time, we've created the accounts, going to the billings, to the finance department, and I would say we 99% done with the project.
No, that's fantastic, Derek. Thank you. So obviously it's taken a bit of time to set it up and get used to the systems. And I think Access, Gerard will tell us now, it's also sort of just been developed. So they're also still improving their software, but open to making it more usable and things. So well done to the George Municipality team for piloting this, and as always on the cutting edge of SSCG and wheeling and the transition. So yeah, so thanks for your time and sharing your thoughts. Yeah, so are you happy, Bongani and Derek, for us to move across onto Gerard?
Yes, Chairperson. I think we're quite comfortable. I think Derek and the team have explained the two processes, with the historic one as well as the current advantages with the new process, as well as the fact that, with the Access Energy, the connection to our finance system will actually automate and therefore reduce any potential error on that aspect. And then I think once a year or at the time of any changing of tariff, we'll have an opportunity to make those amendments to the program so that each and every year when tariff changes, we are able to do our own updates. And the customer has got the portal. I think we want to launch the portals as soon as possible. I think with this process, it has definitely assisted us from a wheeling perspective to also move now effectively, hopefully 1st of March, from a 30 minutes reconciliation to a time of use, which will at least also open up the opportunities for other traders and generators who want to come into the space so that they can maximize their benefit as well. So it is really enabling quite a lot on our space, and I think we are hoping it will get the support it requires to take us further. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Bongani. If I can ask one last question before we move on. This obviously, both billing software require smart meters, or maybe Derek, you can speak to that. So you only have these meters on certain customer types. So as I understand, it's your large power users, your SSEG customers, and now your wheeling customers. Is that right? So you install this meter and it's got communication in the meter to communicate to your billing software. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. It must be on remote. All the meters got, you know, time of use functions. So and require one of those meters on the SSEG customers as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Derek. Thank you, Bongani, for your inputs. Please stick around for some questions. I'm sure there will be. But for now, let's hand over to Gerrio Hofman from Open Access to, yeah, there we go. Hi, Gerrio. So yeah, so talk us through, I guess, the software, if you can, I mean, try and keep it at high level, because I know you software guys, you can get very deep. So so start slowly with us, and then yeah. Thanks, Gerrio. Sorry, man, Gerrio. Yeah, you are muted. There we go.
Thanks, Josh, and thanks for this opportunity. So great to hear Derek on the other side. You know, the team of George has really helped us. You know, we, as you mentioned, we're just software guys. You know, we don't know anything about electricity, so it was quite a steep learning curve. But I think that's where our departure point is. You know, we are looking at the problem from a technology point of view, and we think there's a lot of inefficiencies in the billing environment that we want to automate and create efficiencies. Now, you know, I'll go into a presentation now, but and there was a couple of mentions of wheeling, but the platform is actually just a billing platform. It can facilitate wheeling, but when we got involved with this project in George, it was coming from a wheeling point of view. You know, so when Cyril announced in 2021 that he said you can generate 100 megawatt without getting a license and sell it to customers, we really started thinking about how these wheeling transactions will work across all distribution, not just on Eskom, but also into different municipalities. And we looked at software globally that could facilitate these transactions, these wheeling transactions. You know, every time people were asking us, you know, we'll give you the software, you just need to provide us with the meter data so that we can reconcile these transactions. And then we realized, going to speak to different municipalities, you know, there's probably about 400,000 smart meters in South Africa, you know, and you can't access them from one single system. And at the same time, you know, Courtney is on this call, but, you know, the NRS standard came out, NRS 049 5.2, in which we participated, in which is the way that smart meter data should be shared. So we then developed this platform working with the George Municipality using the NRS 049 5.2 standard to actually build a platform that does the billing, but then ultimately enables the municipality that they can expose their customers' meter data to third parties like traders or wheelers or IPPs to actually do these transactions. And why is that meter data important? When an IPP nominates a point of offtake, they want to know that they don't over allocate. You know, so when you looked at the REAP projects, you know, talk a lot about history, about the energy and that, but the REAP projects were those IPPs that built those projects. It was very simple. They just provided to Eskom. But now these IPPs, private independent power producers that are building these plants in the Southern Cape and in the Northern Cape, they need to get bankable off-takers to finance these projects because a government, there's no more government bonds and Eskom is not buying this energy. So they need to ensure that what is their risk management, and that when they do these allocations, that's quite accurate. But that's a bit more on that detail. But let me take you through the software that we're going to show today. And it's basically just billing software.
Thanks, Gerrie. I think I'm following you so far. So it's the main point is around providing customers with their smart meter data, and that there isn't a way for customers to directly get access to their meter data. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's our departure point, is how can we enable through software, how we can help municipalities to have systems in place where they in the future can facilitate these transactions from alternative power supplies. So open access, this is just our marketing spiel. This is South Africa's first multilateral wheeling platform that automates the matching and generation of consumption loads, allowing energy wheelers to execute accurate peer-to-peer wheeling transactions seamlessly. So we help our customers are IPPs and traders, and we have software that enables these transactions for them. And that's ultimately how we make our money. But when we realized we need to access meter data, we realized there's no suitable product in the market. And then we decided to develop Access Energy, and we also then decided to give the software for free to municipalities, like what we did with in the case with George, so that there's no procurement processes or MFMA processes that are put into place. And we can go into detail if people want to understand that, and I can also share some legal opinions on that. But basically, Access Energy is a market enabler. And if we look at the energy landscape for, say, wheeling and trading, it's quite complex. Municipalities have different ERP systems. So, for example, in George, they use a system called SAMRAS, and that's what Derek and Bongani mentioned. We're now waiting for SAMRAS to provide us with the API, so that full process is automated from reading the meter up to sending a bill out to a customer. There's no human intervention. There's multiple IPPs, so we see that there's projects all over South Africa where there's renewable energy projects being developed. There's so many different automated meter reading systems. There's multiple tariffs. Every municipality has their own tariff. We see there's different. We have customers that are bringing on hydro projects, solar projects, wind projects. Customers on the offtake point, so that are based in municipalities, want to get renewable energy. And a lot of the multinational companies are now, they're all on a drive for 2030, 100% renewable energy. There's all these different smart meter manufacturers. So we saw Bongani and Derek showed the Lindis and Gear meter, but there's all sorts of different, there's a municipality or metro we're currently in discussions with that, have 10 different meters. There's different policies and obviously different distributions. So this makes the environment quite complex, and that's what our software is trying to do, is to make it very simple so that we, for buyers and sellers of energy, can create price accuracy, show cost saving, show optimal energy allocation, show emission reductions, risk management, and we're really trying to automate these processes. And ultimately, there's a benefit to the wheelers. So this is the IPPs or the traders, the customers, so the customer that's consuming the renewable energy, and then the distributors, which is, in this case, municipalities that are responsible for their grid. And when we get all of this right, then we create an environment where the private sector can actually invest in these renewable energy projects. So we've built two software solutions, and today we're mainly going to focus on Access Energy, which is the wheeling software for municipalities or utilities. So, and then the product, and this is obviously what I mentioned before, it's a free product. We don't make money out of that product. It's a market enabler. But Energy Pro is where we actually offer IPPs and traders software, which they pay us software as a service, and hence we can actually fund the software for municipalities. So So pretty much, if you think about this, is the way that technology is going, and it's quite an interesting concept. You know, you probably didn't get a bill from Google today, you know, and probably everyone today is, or some other case, used Google or one of Google's products, which are for free. But then Google finds other ways to monetize that, and then by offering search and email and all these other services for free. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're getting IPPs to pay us for services that we offer them, and then we can offer these free services to the municipalities. So Access Energy is a freely licensed solution that enables municipalities and utilities to access smart meters, collect and interpret data, apply tariffs, and bill customers from one interface. So, and we'll show you the interface just now, but what is great for a guy like Derek is in the past, when he used PMax, it's a desktop app, so he has to use it in his office. You know, if there's no internet connectivity, then he can't look at bills, he can't work on his bills or anything. Now, Derek can sit at the comfort of his home and, you know, access the platform, you know, and use the platform in real time. It's a web-based a platform, so that makes it more accessible. And then Energy Pro, which we'll briefly just show you some of the stuff that we've done there, is a peer-to-peer wheeling solution. So that's the solution where we have customers as IPPs. They're building a 100 megawatt plant and they want to sell their energy to, you know, 200 customers, and we help them to fulfill that energy. So if you look at Access Energy, so this is the software that we provide municipalities like George. We read meters. So there's an automated smart meter reading system. In the case of George, you know, George has an APN. So they have an infrastructure and network, which the meters are connected with SIM cards. And we then deploy our system, which then crawls their network and picks up all their smart meters and starts reading those smart meters. So you don't have to like go and add meter by meter by meter. Our system picks up all those meters and identifies it, starts reading them. We then have a meter data sharing system, which is based on NRS 0495.2, and this module manages the sharing of smart meter data to third parties. We have a tariff manager. So as Bongani mentioned, they load the tariffs. So once again, we must really understand that this is operated and managed by the municipality, the system. We don't operate and manage the system. So the municipality loads their tariffs, make sure the tariffs is correct, and applies those tariffs for each customer. It's a once-off setup. So you don't have to create tariffs and bills for every customer every single month, like some of these other applications do. And then, as I mentioned, we create a bill. And on our platform now, the capability is there that the customer can actually view the bill in real time. And it has all their fixed costs, all their energy charges, whatever the tariffs that's applied, it has there in real time. And then, you know, the reason we actually built this, the problem we tried to solve is we've built this module that enables wheeling. So where we have a trade in Georgia at the moment, where we have one generator and 4 off-takers, Derek himself, when he creates the bill for the customers, he does the matching. It's just a click of a button, and that sends the notification to the trader. It then does the allocations, and then those wheeling credits come off the customer's bill. That's all automated process. So I'm quickly going to show you first a video of how we bill customers and how the billing module works.
Continuing with our demo, we will now go through what a billing run is. A billing run is conducted at the end of every single month and is associated with billing customers for the energy consumption. For instance, August has been completed and all the files have been saved directly to the cloud drive or sent directly to the ERP system. Going back, we will now go for September billing run, and we will run matching, allocation, and save the bills to the drive. As shown in the last demo, we are able to match generation and consumption data from two locations, from matching as well as directly from the billing run itself. If I click matching, it'll run in the background and matching will have occurred. I now need to allocate the energy that has been matched for September. Here, I will select as before, a 50-50 split. And allocate the energy. I can now return to billing run and confirm that allocation has occurred. I'm able to now check the bill to make sure that the energy that I allocated is now reflecting in the bill, as well as check all the details associated with this bill. Once I'm happy, I save the bill and return to the billing run. I continue to execute this and then can eventually save all the associated bills to a physical drive or send directly to the ERP. Continuing with our demo, we will now go through what our billing.
Okay, I also want to just show matching and allocation.
Hello and welcome to today.
That's gone quiet, Gario. I don't know if it's because you muted yourself or something.
Once in, we are able to see
Yeah,
the key metrics associated
perfect.
with this municipality. These are customizable and can be edited to the wish of the municipality as requested. In our municipality, we see 5 smart meters which have been detected by our AMRS system. Once detected, we can review current and historical data associated with this meter, as well as the tariff, all the bills and raw log files, plus who has access to this particular meter and the ability to revoke that access. Let's jump into matching. We have already set up a matching group, which contains some generators and off-takers associated with that matching group. We can review the matching group by reviewing the name, the type of tariff associated with this matching group, whether it's a 30-minute or time of use matching, who is able to allocate the energy once matching has occurred, and who the generator is and who the off-takers are for this particular matching group. Once we have updated the system, we are now able to view the matching data. We make sure that these are the generators and off-takers associated with the matching group. We then select the date which we would like to match. We retrieve the specific data and are able to see the total generation and consumption data associated with that time period. We are also able to view the 30-minute matching time period, which shows us what was generated at a specific time and what was consumed. Once we are happy, we can save. And now we are able to allocate that energy. We then go to allocations. There's the matching group that we created. We are now able to show the allocations for the time period selected and then allocate accordingly. For this particular generation and consumption allocation, we are doing 50-50. We can then save the allocation and return to the billing run for that particular time period, which will show us that matching and allocation have occurred, and now the bill can be saved successfully. Hello and welcome.
So, Josh, this is probably less applicable to today's discussion, but you know, this is just to show the actual software. So what happens is with Access Energy, everything is it's called an API. So API is like a little pipe that goes out of the system, and our third parties can connect with the system and do these like transactions, wheeling transactions. So they can access the meter data. You know, it's all POPI compliant. It's all, you know, customers decide opt in to share their meter data with the traders or the wheelers that they're doing this transaction with. And then we capture that data on Energy Pro, and then we manage these transactions from an IPP point of view. So just on a high level, you know, we can create a generation site, an off-taker site, we can manage the PPAs, and we can actually facilitate it based on what the municipal rules is, if it's a 30-minute or a time of use allocation, or anything like that. You know, if there's anyone that's interested in more detailed, you know, presentations on, you know, how the actual, all the data that we capture with the smart meter, and that we can arrange a session with the different municipalities if they're interested.
Brilliant. Very, very interesting. Thank you so much for that overview. So maybe I'll try and tell you what I saw and heard. So it's a software that the municipalities obviously can use, the municipal software, the free one. And there's your other sort of IPP off-taker software, which is separate. So there's the municipal software, and it has all these meter information coming on. So then, like I was showing in the bill earlier, I see some have joined late, but I was showing an SSEG export credit bill where the export credits were just sort of allocated to that same customer. But now you're saying that there's these, what did you call them, matching groups or something? There were these groups where you say, okay, there's these generator credits coming in, and now we need to say, where do those credits go to which customers? And then in the video, he was saying the split 50-50. So there's all these generation units, and they were split between two customers. So obviously the generator was wheeling to two customers. And if there was 1,000 kilowatt hours coming in a certain time of use period, then he would give 500 to the one and 500 to the other. So splitting the credits like that. So as you were saying, that's also something that the trader could do, that sort of log in and do the split of where they want the credits to go. But yeah, really nice to see, sort of look under the hood of what it would look like when you go into the website and see how you can log in, and you can, there was one part about giving certain customers access to a certain meter. So on that one meter that you showed in the video, there were two people that had access to that meter data. So it was obviously the customer itself and maybe a trader or something that was doing the wheeling for this customer or something along those lines. So yeah, I think that's been really useful to see what it can look like, web-based software for billing and metering and wheeling. So I think this is really what we've been speaking about a lot. I'm talking to the municipal officials now at the AMU convention and talking about 4IR and customer centricity and all these sort of things. So we, as the program, obviously usually we don't partner with private sector, and obviously we're not partnered. We have no affiliation with open access, but we thought would be a useful case study to just bring into the space and see what's going on. So so yeah, I don't know if Mark, if you have questions, or any of the other metering experts, Bongani, Derek from George, I know Courtney's here from City of Cape Town. So there's a lot of expertise here. So and we've got, you know, at least half an hour to try and, you know, talk about this. So yeah, so Mark, maybe first you, and then we'll hear from others, please.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. It's really exciting, really interesting, and I believe it sped up things was the potential to speed things up in terms of the process George was going through hugely. So it's been great to look at it more and see how the pilot pans out. But in fact, what I did was I typed into ChatGPT, what are the concerns or things to watch if you're using open access software in a public entity? And it came up with these. It came up with security of data and privacy. It came up with reliability. It came up with support, and it came up with vendor lock-in. Could you maybe see what comes to mind around those? Because I imagine one of the concerns of the municipality is, okay, so you guys are the developers. What if you lose interest at a certain point? What happens then? How can we be sure that we have to make sure that the customers feel that their data, you said POPI compliant, but can you just say a bit more about that and give people a bit of comfort that, they're not entering into something which is dependent on how interested you might be one day or another, and just on the security side?
Yeah, so we have an arrangement with municipalities where we put the source code in escrow, and if anything should happen with our company, the IP is transferred to the municipality. So that's the first thing that we do. We've also used the development language which is called PHP, and maybe some people know WordPress and Facebook and all these apps are built on PHP, and it's probably one of the easiest developers to get. So you have the capability to continue building on the platform, and it's very simple to build on the platform. So we've looked at all those and been working with George Municipality to like kind of mitigate these concerns. With regards to security, we use the same kind of security that is used by the banks, by FNB and Nedbank. So it's probably more secure than many of the data currently. And then from a hosting point of view, we do multiple locations globally. We use services like Azure, AWS, Google. We store on 7 different locations over 7 days. So there's backups globally. So all the security and stuff is in place. So and then the municipality can decide. Again, it's a system. It's like putting SAP or any ERP system that you have in place. You are responsible for managing the system. So when a municipality accesses those smart meters through the system, they could decide how they want to manage it and who they want to give rights to accessing that data. So we see probably the most the most probable use case is where the municipality gives their customers access to that, but then also allows their customers to grant access to third parties. So the customer then decides who they want to share their metadata with. So the customer can decide if they want to share that metadata with a consultant, energy consultant, or with a trader, or with the IPP, or whoever they want to share that with. And the municipality can view who has access to that metadata and can anytime revoke access to that metadata. But for us, we are very flexible, in the way that we want to work with municipalities, and we're trying to figure out ways where there's least resistance. We don't think, there's not a lot of IP in this. We don't want to monetize this. We don't see a future opportunity to monetize this. We see the opportunity in facilitating these wheeling transactions. And then in the future, there's other opportunities for other companies to build on top of this, Once that metadata is shared with third parties, we just spoke about energy efficiency, energy monitoring, there's all these kind of applications that can be developed on top of that, and that allows you to build an ecosystem, just like we've built an ecosystem on the internet. The internet is built on the telecommunication network. The grid is actually a network, and we can build all these services on top of that if we are allowed to open up people to access data, obviously in a responsible and secure way.
Yeah, that's great. I think we should probably open it up to others now. But just to see that I'm clear in my mind and that everybody's clear on this. So this is an enabling set of, or this is enabling software, which enables your other software to be applied. So in other words, you can't do all of these things while municipal systems are not in place. So this helps you get the municipal systems in place. That then your business model on the other side can then work, but anyone else can piggyback on this as well. There's nothing exclusive about it. So it opens up the whole market, including your other software offering. Is that right?
Correct. So, we've looked at the way that we've really looked at like making it as accessible and open as for anyone, So today, the technology that's in place in George, and although the regulatory environment is not there yet, from a technical point of view and from a software point of view, anyone in George, even an LV customer, that's got, like what you guys showed now, that you've got solar on your roof, could wheel that energy, that excess energy, to their neighbor and sell it to their neighbor. And they can use this system to do it. They don't need any fancy wheeling software or anything like that, you know. And the same for a generator that's got, say, a 1 megawatt plant, and they're overproducing and they want to sell to 4 off-takers, like in the case of George. Anyone can do that. There's no limitation. They don't have to pay, use our software to do that. You know, where we offer a service is for large IPPs that want to sell energy to, say, 2,000 customers over 270 grids. That becomes quite complex, and that's where we can create value to IPPs. But for small embedded generators, they can go and sell directly to the customers. They can use the system. Everyone can wheel to everyone. It's open. And if another software provider wants to integrate with the system and use it the way we do, there's documented APIs which they can access it. So it's in exactly what the word says. It's open access. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for giving us all of that info. Probably open it up, Josh, but back to you.
Yeah, thanks for those good questions, Mark. Appreciate it. Would anyone else like to share thoughts on billing or on the software specifically, or have any questions? And if there's anything you didn't understand, please ask, because I'm sure there's others that also missed the same thing. So, so yeah, please raise your hand and jump in if anyone has any thoughts.
Maybe Josh, while we're waiting for, I see there's a question. Sorry.
Yeah, so let's hear from Sinkle. Good morning, Sinkle. Thank you for contributing. Please jump in.
Yes, good morning. Morning, Joshua. Good morning, everyone. I just have a few questions here. The software is very amazing. At my municipality where I'm working, we have challenges when it comes to billing, especially credit, residential and small businesses. So my first question is there just to ask Open Access if it can go as far as residential and small businesses, because we'll appreciate if you can do the automated billing on that category, and also for customers to see their consumption and how much the bill may be at the end of the month. So that's the first one. The second one is around the issue of prepaid. Does this system also have the vending system whereby we can also link it to prepaid meters? And also when we're doing conversions, when we convert credit customers to prepaid, some of them might like that benefit of seeing their readings and how they're consuming. And then the second last one is around the prices. Can you highlight or indicate to us as municipalities how much the software may worth in terms of price if we want to purchase it, or if we have to maybe take it through a service whereby we pay you a certain amount every month for having the system? And also, can we link this to SAP or it replaces SAP? And the last one, are you open to maybe piloting, just to come within the municipality and take a few, maybe 2 or 3 streets, have those meters? We'll supply you with smart meters, and then you link those meters to the system and show us how the system works, and then we can compare with our current system and what the system will bring, and then it will be easy from a municipal point of view to have the system in terms of getting a buy-in from the seniors, SCM, and the political leaders. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sinkle.
Thank you, Sinkle, for your question. So on the first question, currently we're focusing on bulk meters, so CNI or LPU customers, but we are also looking at opportunities to. There's already one municipality that we will look at prepaid meters, but they're all connected. So we're really focusing on meters that are connected. So in all the use cases that you've mentioned, residential and smaller business, if there's connected meters, then we would be love to interrogate those meters and help you with your billing. With regards to, I'm going to ask a question about SAP and integration. Yes, our business is API driven, you know, so that's what we do. We connect with SAP, SAMRAS. You know, there's a couple of ERP systems used by municipalities. So, you know, it is sometimes challenging because SAP is very easy in actual fact, but some of the older systems and legacy systems don't have APIs, but we work very closely with them and help them to do that integration as it creates value for everyone. You know, everything on the system is tracked and audited, and you know, an auditor can go in and track every single transaction on the platform, which we think is quite important, especially when you want to ensure price accuracy and all sorts of that stuff, and you want a clean audit for your municipality. So we're working towards a way where there is zero human intervention in the billing process. Then on the cost, well, we don't charge a cost. There's no fee. Derek says 4 months, but also remember that was our first setup, and we've learned quite a lot working with Derek and Bongani and the team, and we think we can deploy it much faster now. It's now just to understand what the business rules and the tariffs of the municipality is, which we load and when we deploy. So it depends on how ready you are. If you have an APN, if you have smart meters, if those smart or meters that are connected, you know, then we can do a pilot, but there's no cost involved. There's no cost that you have to incur for this solution. Hence, there's no procurement process that comes into place. We can give you a letter with certain guarantees to say, you know, we'll put the IP, the source code in escrow, and there's a couple of those guarantees that we can make to mitigate any issues from a municipality point of view. We can access data, all of that kind of stuff, security measures, backups, all of that stuff. We can work with the municipality to get them to a level of comfort, and each municipality we see have their own kind of requirements. You know, so we're quite flexible. We just want to make it work, and then yes, we're very keen to do pilots, and we are engaging with a couple of municipalities and metros to do pilots and to show them the power of the platform and how this can actually help them. You know, I mean, maybe Bongani and Derek can talk more about that, but one of the things that we see is because this process creates automation, there's suddenly capacity that's developed within the municipality. You know, instead of human intervention and people having to do processes manually, there's now a capacity, and people can really focus on improving from a municipality point of view on service delivery. You know, so we see a lot of inefficiencies being taken away. Besides the fact that we are able to increase accuracy of billing. And it actually creates a real transparent process. I know that in the case of George, customers would contact Derek and ask him for their meter data. Now they can just go online and they can download that. You know, they don't have to bother Derek, and Derek can really focus on stuff that's important for customers.
Thank you, Gerrie. Before we jump to Bongani, Sinkel, are you covered there? Or maybe should we hear from Bongani? Okay. Hi, Bongani. Thank you.
No, Chair. I think if it's covered, it's fine. I was just going to add to what Gerrie had indicated. I think the team also highlighted the fact that even from an audit perspective, you know, the current Excel process that used to be there did not, you know, allow for auditors to be able to have assurance, because, you know, you are able to copy and paste and align your records to meet this process. But with this automated system, you are able to have a report that is independent of the municipal officials that could stand, and then we are able to audit that against that. I think on the capacity issues that I think Gerrie indicated as well, you know, typically now with some of the time that is a bit freed for the teams, it is giving the teams to be able to even do more in-depth verifications and analysis in terms of some of the, you know, the accounts. And I think that is proving to give us a bit of even additional income, because we are picking up some meters, 1 or 2 there that have really have been missed in the past. And I think that will add significantly towards revenue recovery as well. So it is definitely assisting us in that space. I think Gerrie did indicate that for George, and I believe it's for all municipalities, that currently Access Energy is free of charge. It ought to remain in that manner. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Bongani. Yeah, so that's very, very useful questions. Thanks, Inkle. I see there's two in the chat here, and I think the first one is not really directed at Gerrie, but I think Fora's question around this allocation between generators and off-takers. So how often do we need to do that split between all these units coming in, and to which customers are they going? So the allocation. I think that's an interesting point. I think it's in municipal sort of wheeling frameworks, we can say how often allocations are allowed to be changed. I mean, it wouldn't make sense to do it on more than a monthly basis, probably annually even, say this is the allocation for the year or for the month. But yeah, I think the idea is to keep that fixed for and reduce workload ideally. But I mean, wheeling in general is a new area of work for municipalities. So if you don't have smart metering and these billing systems in place, if you're doing it all manually, moving into this will take some time. But I think the idea is to streamline it using the software. So for, I don't know if that covers you.
Yes, Josh. No, thank you. I think something that might happen is that municipalities might create an environment where people can make that allocation. And then automatically the charge will be there. You know, it's done automatically, and they will create an environment where you can sell who do you want to, but at the end of the day, we'll get the margin we'll get, and it will take into account who you're selling it to, because I foresee, you know, the cost of wheeling would be taken into account. But I think your short answer of you know, monthly to year base, I think for now makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Just
for go for it, Gerrie.
Sorry, Josh. So just on the allocation, so the wheeling rules are loaded on the system, and when they do a bill run. So in the case of George, as Bongani said, they're going to go in the time of use, but currently it's 30 minutes allocation. So that is literally a click of the button, and it does all the matching for all the customers. So there's no, and that process is currently not automated, but you know, we can automate it. So the municipality is still deciding to do that manually, but that process can be automated. It's just we don't click a button anymore. So everything that we've showed can be automated. The allocation is done by the generator or the trader. So when the matching is done, the customer gets a notification, and they have time period where they do the allocation. So remember, the allocation is always done by the generator or the IPP. And if they over allocate, obviously they lose. If they under allocate, you know, it's up to them. They need to make their own allocations, and that crediting goes onto the customer's bill. So it's really no labor-intensive process for the municipality there, because the allocation is up to the customer. It's the responsibility of the generator to make that allocation based on, you know, the PPA that they have in place. That's a private PPA that's outside of the municipalities agreement. So, yeah.
That makes complete sense to me. Thank you. I don't know if people are broadly following, but this allocation question is just one of the things that need to go into a wheeling transaction. If you're wheeling from one generator to lots of customers, then the generator needs to say, how much of my monthly energy must I let go to each customer? Is it equal split, like 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%? Or do I send more to one and less to others? So that's that allocation thing. But as Gerrie says, the software allows it or enables it, and it can be done probably on a monthly basis. But this is part of the municipal wheeling rules. Yeah, so some interesting points here. I don't know. Yeah, I see you've responded in the chat. Thank you, Gerrie. I don't know if anyone else has any question. Courtney, you've posted in the chat. I don't know if you would like to raise anything here. It'd be great to hear your view. I know from City of Cape Town, you've been doing wheeling using your SAP system, if I understand correctly, Courtney. So maybe if you want to speak to how that's gone, or if you're also able to provide this meter data to your customers using SAP, or I don't know, any thoughts from you, it would be fantastic to hear if you're up for that. You have a lot of experience in the billing space. Or if anyone else has any other questions, then yeah, please do jump in.
The SAP development has been done. We have tested it, and we're happy with the SAP functionality. NRS 049-5-2 should be implemented by the end of the month as a file transfer method. So we are there.
Okay, fantastic.
The question I have posted in the chat is really in SANS 474, there are quite a few, or not so much. There's only a few audit points that you need to track if you want to look at software. And I think it would be interesting for you guys just to go through those clauses and tick your boxes. Because SANS 474 is really the guide for metering in South Africa. And if you can tick those boxes, I think it would assist everyone.
Thank you, Courtney. Noted. Sounds like you're going to do that. Oh.
Courtney, if I can ask, you mentioned the metadata will be in a file transfer. Will it be fully automated? Will it be in real time, or will it be at a monthly and a single file download?
Just to jump in there, so this is the SAP system, SAP, that City of Cape Town's using to do wheeling. I think it's also interesting as a different way to hear that. So it's about this providing the metadata to the customer. As Gerard is asking, how's that done?
It is not prescribed in SANS, sorry, in NRS 049-5-2. It could be half an hour. But I think our initial exchange will be monthly after the fact, after the months have closed. Although nothing prevents us from actually sending the data every half an hour as it comes in near real time.
How will the customer receive that, Courtney?
Available via the portal.
Okay, so it's also a login portal sort of thing.
Yeah, in our case, we will not implement the login as specified in NRS or SANS NRS 049-5-2, because the login process in the municipality is governed under corporate finance. They set the rules there. So we will not interfere with those rules at this stage.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't know, Gerard, if you have any follow-up questions or if anyone else has any thoughts.
I think it's, from a wheeling perspective, it's quite important for the IPP to get the metadata in real time. So especially if they're wheeling from outside the municipality, that they can, because they have to give ESCOM notification before the end of the month where they want to allocate their credits. And if they don't know what the data is on a consumption level, they might over allocate, which could be a loss for the IPP, and which makes the project less bankable.
Thank
I
you.
think that's the biggest challenge that we have with wheeling in the South African context at the moment, is mitigating those risks for IPPs.
Gerard. Yeah, great. So there's some interesting thoughts, and I think we're all going to be learning a lot in the next few years as we embark on this billing system data transfer journey. Does anyone else have questions? There are lots of people in the participant list here that I know have questions, so please jump in. I'm sure some people have thoughts. If not, maybe we can give it another minute or so to see if people have questions. Otherwise, we can start drawing it to a close. Thank you, Frans. Hi, good morning.
Josh. It's not a question, it's maybe just a caution, in the sense that we speak of people that's been getting credited, but in the same sense, then we talk about those energy being wheeled. Is that just to make sure that first of all, the wheeling framework from NASA has not been approved yet, and it looks like that's the kind of stumbling block that we currently sitting with. But yeah, we're not going to discuss that now. But if you already purchased that as a municipality from the customers excess export credit, Why do you want to wheel that same power to the person next door as well?
Mm-hmm.
You've already made
You've
a
got it,
compensation to that. So I think that's just be cautious to speak of these two type of transactions in the one breath, because it might just think, people might just think that you have to pay and do the what's because what we're also seeing is that from a trader's point of view, they see that wheeling, if it's from an Eskom point of view, or even ourselves that we're already having that in place, is that wheeling rates are much higher than your export credit rates. And so, so I think one must make a very clear distinction between when are you going to do wheeling and when are you going to do export credit compensation.
Fully.
Yeah, so I think that is
Thanks,
just
Frans.
something, and I think it's, if we look at, I just saw your bill there, and I would like to, but maybe that's another day's discussion, is that how did the retail plan of Eskom actually affect the export credits to the municipalities? But let's make that a discussion on another day. But yeah, it was just like I said, just a caution on between wheeling and the export credit. Thanks, Josh. There's a lot of other questions and stuff, but I think I'll reserve it for another day. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Frans. Gerrie, would you like to wedge in there? Otherwise, I think I've been the one that's blurring the lines, so I'm so happy to share some thoughts, but go for it, Gerrie.
No, so I just agree with Frans 100%. So I'm not saying you feed in and wheel, it's one or the other, but with the software, you, as a municipality, you can decide whatever you want to do. It can facilitate both. The municipality, we don't really care about what tariffs anyone is on or what the policy is. We just facilitate the technology that can facilitate those transactions. So if there's a wheeling tariff or feed, we do, in George, we do feeding tariffs. If there's a customer that's SSSG, we the municipality applies the tariff, and they get whatever they have, the discount that they have to get on their bill. So we agnostic towards any wheeling or feed in or whatever the case.
Thanks, Gerrie. Yeah, thanks, Frans. I I sort of brought this whole thing with EG and wheeling into the morning, and I think the thinking was that both of them require billing system upgrades, and this is one software that can do it. From a policy perspective, I think we were chatting with Bongani at George Municipality. I was there last week, as I said, and we were saying, when are you going to allow wheeling and where SSEG export credits? And what Bongani was saying makes sense for George Municipality, and I'm sure many other municipalities feel the same way, is that generators feeding into the low voltage network they are not eligible to wheel. They are only eligible for SSEG export credits. So if it's a low voltage generator, then they can access the SSEG export credit. At least that's the picture for now. Let's see where it goes in future, but for now. And then MV generators, so larger malls and generators there that feed in excess, they can then choose to either access the export credit, or they can choose to wheel that energy to someone else. If they wheel, then they obviously don't get the credit on their bill. That sort of credit goes onto the off-taker who's receiving the wheeled energy. So then they're definitely not both. Yeah, Frans, I don't know if you agree with that.
Yes, yeah, no, thanks, Josh. I think just one small question is that, obviously wheeling is, if we talk about wheeling in a broader sense at this stage, I think we're looking at from an Eskom point of view, where the IPP is connected to the Eskom transmission or distribution grids, and it will then either be delivered to one of our municipal customers. Just to know from open access if Eskom is also having that same kind of feeling of this open access, because remember that's where maybe most of the wheeling is going to come from. Depending on policy size, etc. So but I know the internal one, I think that's something different. But from an Eskom point of view, thanks, Josh.
Have you wheeled from Eskom connected generators into municipalities? Does that also require software like this?
Yeah, so it's a bit different, but the principle from a municipality level will be exactly the same. So, we work with the IPPs and do a nomination to the offtake point, which will then be the municipality. But as we know, there's some obstacles with that to actually do those transactions at the moment. There's a bit of constraints with deposits and all of that stuff. But we're preparing for those to facilitate those transactions and working with IPPs. And also working very closely with Eskom. We have a whole work group that we're working with Eskom because this is going to become. If you look at the generation capacity that's coming online in the next 18 months. It's going to be thousands of transactions that we can't run off an Excel sheet. So.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you're still sort of developing it on the Eskom side, but the principle is the same. But what you are showing is actually mainly for within the municipality wheeling, France, where the municipality needs to do the allocations. So when you're wheeling from an Eskom connected generator, I think it's much easier for the municipality then because you just receive a whole lot of credits on your bill. So all of the sort of generator allocation stuff is being done. Use the municipality, you get an Eskom bill with a bunch of credits, and then you just pass that energy credits on to the off-taker. Maybe in future when there's lots of off-takers and there's lots of lines on your Eskom bill with all sorts of different credits, it might become complex then. Yeah, please, Gerrie.
Yeah, so just as what we showed how the matching works, the same process will be, so you might have for a municipality, say 5 IPPs that nominate that municipality as an offtake point, and on the Eskom bill there will be the credit for that 5. That credit will then go, as what we did with matching, will go to the profile of there will be a profile for the generator on Access Energy, and they will have to do their allocation themselves, or through third-party software that integrates with Access Energy. So yeah, it would work exactly the same. Remember, the municipality never does the allocation. The allocation is done by the generator or by the trader.
Okay.
So the generator and the trader it depends on what the municipality's rules are, but we don't see much of a difference. The only difference is where the process for the nomination, and that process isn't clear by Eskom yet. How many nominations you can make and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's a lot of progress happening in that space, and we're working very closely with the team at the Eskom on this.
Thank you, Gerrie. Yeah, thank you, Frans, for those questions. Yeah, so we're sort of rounding to the last few minutes of this session. Would anyone like to ask a final question to close out the session? Please feel free. Otherwise, if no one's raising a hand, then I see Gerrie has put his email address in the chat, so feel free to reach out. Bongani Mandla, I'm going to put you, I'm going to make you available to the other municipal officials if you don't mind. Bongani's also just joined the SSEG WhatsApp group. So welcome, Bongani. I'm sorry it's taken you so long. We've been missing you, but Bongani's also coming to the SSEG training that I think everyone here has been on this next week or next month, later this month. So so it's great to have you pioneer in the space. So yeah, we can reach out on the SSEG municipal WhatsApp groups if anyone has questions or would like to be in touch. And yeah, I think this has been a useful, just a sort of information session about what is available and the software solutions around. So we look forward to having another info session with one of the other municipal officials here leading it to show what software you've implemented in your municipality and how you're making things happen in line with those important sort of actions from the highest level, from the presidency, highlighting net billing as a real way to end load shedding and get more power on the grid. So we really do encourage you to do what you can to try and make things happen. So Yeah, that's from us. Mark, maybe you can share some wise closing words for us.
Oh, the wise closing words are that, yeah, it's been great, exciting space to watch. Sinkhole, if you do engage more and run a pilot, please do keep in touch with us. It's the sort of thing we'd love to hold a discussion session around. And other than that, thanks to everybody for participating. Thanks, Bongani. You guys are great. The way George is leading the charge here in so many ways is really admirable. So thanks for sharing your expertise, and thanks to everyone. Sergio, Josh.
Thank you.
Really useful to have all of your input.
Thanks, Mark. Sinkhole, you had your hand. Did you want to share something to close?
No, thanks, Josh. No, I just wanted to say I will do so. We
Thank you,
definitely
sir.
want to engage open access for a pilot, and we'll share with you the results from that engagement.
Brilliant. Thank you, my man. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a fantastic week ahead, and yeah, let's keep in touch.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. Farkut. Cheers, everyone. We'll share the recording with those who missed
Thank
it.
you.
That's all.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, all right.
Thank you, everyone.